Hi everybody, Mike here, and pleased to say I'm back doing a video for Soft Acoustic Guitar. Today we're going to look at the sequencer page, as you can see here, loaded up with a sequence, one of the presets, and just to show you how very easy it is to immediately get going, I'm going to stick down this very low F key, this yellow key on the left hand side, which is an E major chord, switch to an A, you get the idea. So it's responding to the triads I'm doing by picking the kind of closest authentically voiced chord as you would do on the guitar, but there's different ways you can manipulate this, the rules of it and stuff, the biases it has. So I'll go through that, and then afterwards I'm just going to go into real life example and put a little line over a library track I did that's got quite a nice bit of space to fill up with a bit of guitar, just to show you how we can put it into a practical example. So here we go. Like I say, that was one of the sequences. If I just show you this icon here, we have lots of different, let's take a pop rock one, 3/4, let's take this first one, close that up, and we've got another sequence loaded up. They come in either 1 bar or 2 bars, and if I play this, you can change them from here. So say, if I maybe do something like that. So you can see how easily we can just take them as starting points and then adapt them for our sequences. And I could change from there. I could change the time signature, so then I could fill it in, and we could change the unit. So now this would be rather fast, and whatever you'd like to do from there. So some of this is quite self-explanatory. I'll go through the self-explanatory stuff first. Let's just, this has gone a bit crazy, so let's just pick another, let's just do a neoclassical 4/4. Let's try this. Little double click on the preset. That's better. So at the bottom here you'll see we have the volume, and it's relative to how hard you press the key. So say if I made these really a bit quieter and I pressed it loud, so you can get some nice expression, but if I press it softly it still turns it down, but relative to how hard I'm playing. So these are relative volumes here. And then the style row is the type of articulation. So on the right hand side we have all here, so this is a handy way of changing them all at once. If I press that once, it goes to a palm mute. Now just before I go and change the chord here, I'm going to turn this to fixed, or fix, sorry. So we have 3 options here: fluid, fix, top, and fix. But fix is the simplest one because it just keeps the pattern exactly the way it is as you see it on the screen. So say if I go to a higher chord now, like a high D minor, you can see on the guitar neck everything's shifted right up to the high position. Now if I go down to saying I'm A minor, G, you see it works back down. So in the way that you move up and down with your hand on the guitar, everything's very blocky and very simple to do. So I will talk about the fixed, top and fluid options in that little menu in a bit, but for now let's just carry on through the articulation. So we have, after mutes, we have harmonics, short notes, and all again. Now of course, if you go into detail, we can combine them. Maybe I'd want a harmonic there and a short note there. Well, by the way, you get extra options here, which are blocks, different kinds of blocks. So the strum row here, this comes into effect when we have more than one string active on the same step. So say if I just take that off and then give that a bit of space. So now we have something like this. Let's turn that up a bit so we can hear it. So, as you can hear, it's all just happening at the same time. What we want to do is maybe do a nice little down strum here. So it's brushing, it's as if your fingers are brushing through the strings. And what we can do in the advanced section is take the strum speed, make it a bit slower by bringing it up, and you can see. So you can really control the strum speed. And by the way, this is controllable via the mod wheel CC1. So you can really automate that to make it lovely and human. And if you look at this select section, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 banks. So we can load up different presets or create our own on each bank and select via the yellow key switches, the 4. Now you see the guitar comes loaded with styles in totally unrelated different folders, rhythmic, pop rock. And by the way, it's following the tempo of the DAW, in this case 110 BPM. So that's obviously quite fast. Maybe I'd want to change that to the 8ths, and suddenly press it a bit lighter, it sounds a bit better. So there you go, see how easy it is to manipulate these things. So what you might want to do is create different banks for different sections of your song, and then you can easily just hold them down. Let's go on to the way you actually trigger these sequences and what happens when you let go of the yellow keys. So you see here we have chord release and sequence release. So if we go back to the neoclassical bank 1 that I loaded up and then changed a little bit, you can see sequence release, it has squeaks at the moment. If I let go of the key, you can hear the squeak. To simulate the guitar, you know, the hand changing and shifting to another chord. So it's really useful to have these little gaps, like I always say, between chord changes. You don't want a completely smooth, you know, you need a little bit of silence between chords. But sometimes you'd want something like this, which is let ring. Take my hand off and it just lets the strings ring out. So it depends on the situation. Maybe the end of a song, you just want to take it off and have a nice little tail. Blocks, same thing as squeaks really, but it's just a little very small tap or block. You're just blocking the strings rather than shifting and squeaking. Now this chord release menu, it's slightly misleading the way it's labelled, but it does make sense if you just bear with me. So when I change chords, so if I hold down the sequence key, it's currently playing a G chord. If I play an A minor, can you hear that little squeak between? So it's set on squeaks when I'm effectively holding down the sequence key but releasing the chord by pressing a new chord. It creates a tiny little gap where there's a squeak. If I press let ring, hold the sequence key, you can hear how things are ringing on. This creates really smooth, open sounding sequences, so that might be of use. And again, block is just silent release. So just carry on with the more obvious stuff. Strum speed I already explained in this advanced menu. Humanize below it. Now this humanizes the whole sequence. If I hold it down, and then I put it all the way up, now that's the extreme setting, which you probably wouldn't ever want. You go the other way, it's the most robotic quantized setting. So I tend to leave it about here just to give it a little bit of loosen up the quantizing a bit, and that gives it a lovely human feel. Swing is pretty obvious. Again, everything's automatable. Now if I shift this over here, I'm going to start to talk about using this in your DAW. There's a couple ways we're going to, you're going to want to record sequences into the DAW. One is just by keeping it in sequencer mode, and we'll do that first. And the other is, if you see here the record MIDI and the drag and drop options, this is where you can take the sequence, put it into your DAW, and then make further alterations to really get some nice detailed stuff and do things that you might not be able to do just in the sequencer, like slur some notes, create kind of riffs and things like that. Okay, so I'll stay with this chord sequence. Let's pick a low F chord. I'll just put down the triad with the purple keys. Now, say I want to record it into Logic. Let's go over here, nice blank space. Now you see how that came in off the beat. There is an option here, on bar. Click that. I'll do the same thing, and I could start before the beat I want to come in. And it comes in perfectly. Change chord. Now the reason I made on bar an option is because it's when it's on, it's, although incredibly useful, it can cause a bit of confusion. If I come in on the actual beat, it doesn't play until the next beat. So you really do have to play it before the beat for it to be a useful option. And it's just getting in the habit of starting the sequence key before the beat, and then for me it's far more useful. If you don't want that and you want to quantize it afterwards, then you just take it off. So the final thing, and the big thing really with this, is this fix, fluid and fixed top. So I've talked about fixed. It's just it's what it is. Every chord that you play will have the same note relationships, and so it will give the impression of a hand moving up and down in a very blocky fashion. But what we want to do sometimes is just have a different series of chord voicings as a normal guitarist would do, so they don't have to keep moving their hand up and down. So I'm going to go to fluid, play a G major. Let's load up a different, more strummy kind of thing, acoustic folk. Now what we do have is ARP sequences and also chords sequences, more chord based. So here's something. Swing rhythm. Now that's a G chord. As you can see, if you've ever played the guitar, you can see on the neck that that's a typical chord shape of a G. Now if I go to C, now see this is loaded with the fix. I didn't spot that. So if I go to fluid again, back to G, whereas the one before just shifted the same shape up, we have a typical C shape in the same position. A minor, D minor. So it really gives the sort of all the typical chord shapes that you'd get without having to worry about it. You're just playing triads. So for different situations, it will you're going to want to mess around with these settings and just choose the one for you. So the final option is fixed top, and it means the top three strings will be fixed, but the bass strings, this E, A and D, will be changing. So let's just pick a nice, probably a neoclassical one, I don't know, sort of an arpeggio one. Right, now it's a bit fast, so I'm going to put that out to an eighth. Now what I'm going to do is just change this. Let's try it like this. Now you can see the top three strings. Now if I go to a high chord, so you can see that the bass note changes, but the top three remains the same, and it creates lovely, smooth, authentic guitar stuff. So if I go to fluid, now if I go to an A minor, see it squashes the shape up, and if I go even higher, now it's squashed everything up. So what it's doing is it's compressing the shape up to the top without fixing anything, and this doesn't suit the pattern we want. So if I go back to a low F, you see the roots happen on the E, A or D. By the way, you can make these locked or editable, and we want this half of it to remain the same, and we want the other half to change. So definitely the one we want is fixed top. And then I go to a high chord. Perfect. So it really is the case of just messing around and just seeing what your pattern suits. Okay, so let's have a look now at this real life example of mine. It's a part of a library track that I found with a nice bit of space in it, and a bit of Ron Roco. So it could definitely do with something to play with that Ron Roco, something a bit lower, register, acoustic guitar maybe. So you see it's going through a few nice chord changes. Etc. So it's just floating around like that. Okay. So with soft acoustic guitar, obviously you have the option of just playing in the notes, you know, sustain pedal. What key are we in? Oh, useful. We're in G sharp major. So what we want to do is actually tune the guitar up a little bit to fit G sharp major, so I can just play in G, which is much easier for me. And this is just something you can do, actually, just tune up by a step. And now I play a G chord and it's G sharp. I'm going to get some kind of thing that suits it at the moment. Let's try out maybe a slightly higher G chord. Yeah, so I'm definitely feeling that this could do with a nice flowing arpeggio line, which is perfect for what we want to do, really. So back to the sequencer, and I think a neoclassical thing would be quite good. So let's load up a neoclassical. It's in 4/4. I showed you the first one, so let's try ARP 2. Let's see if this fits. I think that would be working if we went to 8th. Right, so oh, this might be really nice actually. And I want to go to the sequence release as a let ring, because I can imagine it to, and then change chord, that kind of stuff. So let's actually let's keep this open so we can see it. Now let's try recording. I want to put this on bar on so that it joins in on the first beat, in which case I want to put the sequence key down before the first beat. And I'm going to release it. Put it down before the beat. I think it changes to C here, so I just put a little try down. Release back to G. So I put it down on the beat and it came in too late, but you see how that was really nice. So I'm just going to just cut there and just carry on. So it's just select one. I'm just going to turn this up a little bit so you can hear it as I record it. Let's just carry on. So I think here, I think an A minor 7 would work there, and maybe we've got a C6. That's lovely. And then I think we've got a D. G. So we've got a different. Oh yeah, that's nice. I forgot about that. So we've got a different sequence going on here. So up to now, I've recorded some basic chords and just that little tip that I think I said earlier. If not, we need to set the first chord before the first sequence comes in, which is a G. Or G sharp technically. So we're going to just grab one of those, put them down to where we are, G. Anywhere before there, as long as you start it. So I'll solo that. And that suits it perfectly. Lovely stop there. You see it comes in a bit before, it doesn't matter, because I've got on bar on. And then we're going to change. So there, I want it to actually change just before there. So let me just test that out again. I have to reset the chord. Come on. It's a bit smoother. And then we have another stop here. And again, you see, when the chord is pushed down, it squeaks, as we see here, with the chord release set to squeaks. I think we probably want that on let ring as well, so we don't want to hear those squeaks cutting out the tail. I want the tail to ring on until the next chord, really. And there we have an A minor 7 or A sharp minor 7 because we tune the guitar up. Now I think that needed to be a little bit early, didn't it? Oh yeah, it's just carrying on, yeah, so we actually want to just bring that there. Okay, so that's pretty good. And I can keep it like this. As long as it's in sequencer mode, it will replicate that, and you've saved the instrument, you know, you saved the project with these instrument settings. It will just save everything as it is until next time. Let's just have a quick look at the last section. So it's a G, D, B minor and a C, I think. So just try that out. So low G. Pretty good. So everything's ringing on, as I've said it in the menus. Let's try that. So G. The idea. So it's just repeating to the end. Say I wanted to make more, you know, varieties and maybe change some more notes, maybe put some slurs in. What I want to do is turn it into MIDI, drag it into the DAW, and then make alterations. And so all I have to do Let's go to the beginning. Press record MIDI. It won't record anything until it has something to record, so it'll hear it, record it, and then I can just drag and drop it in. Let's see what happens. So I press record MIDI again to take it off record. Drag and drop. Let's put it there for now. See what happens. And it's recorded everything we've done. I guess that's where we're starting. So let's just have a listen. And as you can see, got some lovely MIDI, all dragged out to the sort of correct lengths. That's the G chord there. And then we have C chord. And you get the idea. So this is an incredibly useful thing. Say if I wanted to go into the G chords and just elaborate on this a little bit, or maybe make some changes. So say if I did maybe here, if I wanted to do a chord like a note like that, you know, and make some changes, or you know, like you could do some slurs. I don't know, if you overlap notes and make the second one a bit quieter, you usually get a nice slur. So let's just have a listen to this. Yeah. Something like. So that, you know, it creates more interest to just to have a sort of some nice riff stuff going on. So that sums up the sequencer page really, and the MIDI drag and drop feature, and I hope you can see, you know, just how easy it is to get some great realistic lines in. As always, please let me know any comments or questions you have, and look forward to seeing you soon, where I'll be going more into the compositional side of things, maybe some mixing, and whatever people like to see really. So yeah, thanks again and have a good one. See you soon.